Hello, everyone, and welcome. I'm Gilda Evans, bringing you the Autism Resource Podcast. This podcast and the ARP website are your one stop knowledge and resource space for autism and much more. I'm very pleased to have Derek Crager join me as my guest today. Derek is a late diagnosed autistic and ADHD professional who spent a lifetime misunderstood until he found his voice in technology. With a background in industrial reliability and a mind wired for pattern recognition, Derek turned personal struggle into purpose, founding Practical AI and the community hub AIforautistics.com. Through his work, Derek helps navigate individuals harness AI not just to cope, but to create, earn, and thrive. His flagship tool, Pocket Mentor, offers voice-powered guidance in industrial settings, proving that AI can be both human-centered and practical. Welcome, Derek, and thanks so much for taking the time to join me and discuss the work you do today.
Well, thank you, Gilda. It's a pleasure to be here, and I'm grateful for the invitation.
So, I know you like to say, I wasn't broken, the system just wasn't built for me. Can you please elaborate on that quote and tell us what it's like living 50 years without a diagnosis?
It honestly, I spent those 5 decades trying to find myself, thinking that I'm coming from the land of misfit toys to quote a old Christmas favorite, and I knew it was me. I was the odd duck, and so I spent my life in the self-help aisle, figuring that there's some good guidance here, guidance that's been around for a long time, and sometimes it's old knowledge that's quoted in new covers on the book. But I learned quite a bit, both from the professional leadership side, the spiritual side, and I've never really felt like it all came together, Gilda, until shortly after I turned 50 when I was diagnosed. And for somebody that's, autistic, which kind of correlates to analytical, kind of like black or white, ones and zeros, I for the first time, I knew what bucket I was in, and that was a relief because it felt like I belonged. Now I've got all these Disney stories in my mind, right? Going back, Toy Story is back there too. Anyway, the toy that never fit, the ugly duckling, you all name it. There's a lot of stories out there. And once I was diagnosed, it felt like I cried for 2 weeks, and it wasn't out of pain. It was out of relief. I didn't know how much pressure I'd been carrying around. And so once that diagnosis came through, I truly embraced it. And I think that's what gave me the foundation to be successful from that point forward.
So, what surprised you most after receiving your diagnosis later in life?
Hmm. I Well, I guess a couple things. One, I got to say, I don't know if I was surprised by the diagnosis so much. I was surprised by how they test for ADHD, and they sit you down at a computer and give you a mouse, and they tell you to click on the screen. I'm thinking, my gosh, I've been doing that for 30 years, but I guess they measured and all that. The other part was it was while I was at Amazon when I was diagnosed, and what really surprised me is that I had shared my diagnosis in my corporate email on the signature line down below. There was about a third of the employees, felt well enough that they could say, "Hey, I'm different because." So I put my own tagline in there. "Hey, I'm different because autistic, ADHD, and dyslexic." So if we're not connecting on something, please reach out and let's talk so we can straighten it all out. And it was received. It wasn't received verbally, responsively, but I noticed a change in how people communicated back with me. It instead of feeling like I was behind the eight ball and being judged up front, it felt like people were, maybe they gave me that benefit of the doubt just one more time than they would have otherwise. So that could have been them, responding to, my embracing of it. Or, you know what? It could have been me. It could have been my mindset that I was no longer playing the defensive game. I was embracing it for all it was worth.
All right, so now your world is AI. Talk to me a little bit about how AI can become a personal assistant for autistic adults.
All right. Well, I got to say that I'm an educator at heart. And after building Amazon's highest rated employee training program, I realized that the future of learning isn't about more content. It's about delivering the right knowledge at the right time. Some people say just in time. So today I'm on this mission to bring human first AI into the world. There's a lot of AI fear that's out there and AI ignorance. So I'm doing this on two sides. One, I'm empowering companies and their employees with voice-based mentorship that trains them and supports them in real time. And you mentioned a tool in my intro that it's one of the tools that we're building here, Pocket Mentor. So what it is, it's like having a friend that you can reach out to and say, hey, I'm going into this tough spot. And can you give me some advice? Can you talk me through it? And that's where I see AI right now. We are scaling people's, not just their brains, but their compassion, their support, um, their patience. That's huge. So we're using AI as a tool where somebody can dial a phone number and talk voice to a centralized, siloed knowledge on one topic. And we're using it to help guide people in onboarding, and those of us that always felt weird and didn't want to reach out because we thought we're kind of defending ourselves enough already. And if we talk to a supervisor or a peer on our first day at work, then we're being judged. And so this is a way that a person can reach out and not feel judged. And we're connecting it also. We noticed that not just in onboarding somebody to a role in a company and learning about the company, but we're also having this, we call it Wiggins. And Bettina Thompson she is an ex-Amazonian as I was, and she spent 10 years in HR at Amazon. And she founded a lot of the outreach programs that mental health and wellness support, the neurodiversity groups that spoke out there, and we had a whole bunch of different community groups that and chat groups that we'd connect with. And so she joined my team after leaving Amazon. And so her ideology here is that we support those that are different so they have access to this information. But at the same time, how about those poor managers that get blamed for not being the right manager and not showing the right leadership? And we thought maybe it's just because they don't have the experience. So when they react to, somebody that's autistic that's on their team, they either don't know how to react, or they don't know how to read us, or they react inappropriately because they just haven't been tuned in on our idiosyncrasies. So it's a tool that a manager can call and have a conference and do a little practice dialogue and say, hey, I've got Derek coming in, to work. And I want to talk to him about this topic, and I want to present it in the right way. So, the intent and the impact is the same. So it's right there. And it's nothing that they have to study. It's just a conversation. You're phoning a friend, and it helps bring that information to the forefront. So they're focused on saying the right things at the right time when they have those conversations, Gilda.
Okay, so you just gave me an example of how a manager might use it to talk to an autistic individual. What about the autistic individual? Give me the opposite example of how an autistic individual might use it to have a discussion or to do something else that they're not quite sure how to handle.
Yeah, good. So maybe it's being invited to a Thursday night bowling night with the agile team. Maybe that's what they're on, and they're not used to hanging out. It's like, so what do I talk about? How do I introduce myself? What do I say? And maybe talk me through being quiet or the wallflower. any of these things. It's a way to just dribble in a little bit of fatherly advice throughout their day.
Okay. Now, you have also been quoted previously as saying that you feel neurodivergent minds are exactly what the future workplace needs. Can you elaborate on that for me?
Well, it's if uh, if we actually look at Amazon in its heyday, when it was, well, maybe not its heyday, you could say it's in their heyday now, but when they were growing and organized back in the 90s, that first 5 years especially, Amazon was really built by a bunch of neurodivergents who went in and they were so busy that they had a mission and they had tasks and they just kept building, and they were so busy that they couldn't judge one another, and which is something that happens when businesses grow. They grow too big, and Amazon grew so fast. It was easy in later years to not onboard everybody with the same type of leadership principles that Amazon is known for, the mission and the vision. So I think Amazon's the probably the greatest example here in the last 25 years of how neurodivergent minds can come together and really grow. Moving forward, it's the neurodivergent minds that think outside the box. You know, that proverbial box that we're afraid of being stuck in. And if we look at throughout history, one of my favorite examples is Nikola Tesla. They say that he was autistic. Same thing with Albert Einstein. Albert Einstein really didn't get along with people for a bit. At least they have some stories about that in his youth up through sixth grade. So it's that X factor that we bring. And specifically, there's something that Dr. Nancy Doyle over in the UK, she found a genius within. And she talks about neurodiversity as spiky profiles. So she really doesn't even refer to people as neurotypical, which is kind of like the opposite side of the coin as neurodiverse. She said that everybody is has a skill set and they're good at things and they're bad at things, and the people that fall into that neurotypical category are really just average across, and it's average in the same way. I think there's a Japanese proverb that, all nails get hammered down, something like that. I know I'm misquoting that, but the ones that are in the middle, nobody notices their problems. And they're the ones that kind of get moved into a role or out of a role just because of we need a certain amount of labor. And it's the neurodivergence that come in with the spiky profile. If we take, let's just say, skill set one, skill set two, and you graph this on an XY axis, somebody that is in the average category might be a one or a two up and down all the way across that line. And somebody that's neurodiverse is sometimes they're a 10, in performing, 300% to what normal is, which is great, right? Those are the people. But what about when they perform so well, they do great, their supervisor comes in, they say, hey, we want you to present this to leadership. That's a great idea. We really want to roll with this. And their skill set on presenting in public or socializing is like a -10. So they come in and they're expected to perform great. They've been talked up, and then they just kind of freeze. And that social disconnection is misinterpreted as, I don't know, maybe ignorance or a thing that goes around a lot. Right before somebody with autism or ADHD or any of those neurodiversities gets let go, they say, yeah, we really just don't think you align with our culture. So it's really funny when it comes down to that. We get judged by what we do wrong instead of what we do right. And I really think it should be the other way around.
I agree with you wholeheartedly. And you know what? I'm going to take a moment to just repeat what I've repeated many times before, and I will continue to repeat because I believe in it very strongly. And that is, while I think that labels are fine in the sense that they serve to shorthand language and you get maybe a 50,000 foot view of what some of the challenges or issues a person might be dealing with when you say the word autistic, right? But again, everyone is individual and everyone is unique. And it is my hope that at some point in the future, labels will become moot because, after all, we are all part of the human spectrum. And it's just a matter of finding out where you vibrate. Are you ultraviolet? Are you visible? Are you infrared? Where are you? And what is your stuff? It's about finding out where that other person vibrates and building that bridge of communication and finding the right way to connect. Because frankly, I have never met a single person in my life, be they considered neurodivergent, neurotypical, whatever, who doesn't have their stuff, right? Their faults, their foibles, their idiosyncrasies. Every single person I've ever met in my life does. So, anyway, that's a long way of saying I totally agree with you.
Well, thank you, Gilda. Thank you.
So I do have one more question though. What would you say to someone who suspects they might be neurodivergent, but they haven't been diagnosed yet?
Well, I can tell from my experience that I spent about 10 years leading up to seeking a diagnosis. I felt I was aligning, and the term Asperger's is, people like or dislike because of connections from histories past. But specifically, the Asperger's definition is what I aligned to. Gosh, what is it now? Almost 20 years ago, I started thinking that. Yeah, I'm a little bit like that. I'm a little bit like that. And so the internet allowed me to just join some open communities. And I was that, fly on the wall, just kind of listening and reading, listening with my eyes, and reading. And I know I spent a lot of time finding different books and audiobooks more so than books. And learning about definitions and diagnoses, and I just thought, that sounds a little bit like me. So it allowed me to engage these normal people, they were normal to me, in conversations and say, oh, me too. And it worked for me. Whether it works for everybody, I don't know. But if you're just seeking a diagnosis to get a diagnosis, I think my advice is to just learn about the people before you go into a doctor's office and say, hey, am I or am I not, doc? Because as that the spiky profile says, even those that are neurodiverse, we could be completely opposite. If you and I were both diagnosed autistic, that doesn't mean our skill sets are the same. They could be the complete opposite, but it's just the definition is that we're extreme, we're polarized in our skill sets as effective or ineffective. So I would just say, seek those that are like you and talk to them and just be open and let your guard down.
All right, good advice. So, is there anything else that you'd like to say, anything that I haven't asked that you'd like to share before we conclude our interview?
Well, I will say that I believe in learning so much. My hero's story, my hero's journey is pocketing away all these little I call them subroutines because it's computer and these brains think like technology computer. I have all these subroutines in my mind, and at any given time when I'm socializing, to the extent that I did or I could, I had overcome, before I was even diagnosed, I'd overcome and I was allowed some success in conversing and socializing because I had all this knowledge from, leaders from throughout the world, throughout history, and I just kept it around me and at the top of my mind. So I believe so much in having knowledge close that I wrote a book. It's called Human First AI, and it's going to be released later this year. So if anybody wants to read the first chapter, just go to humanfirstai.net And you can read the first chapter and see if you agree that putting humans first with AI is the important thing, because we believed in empowering people so they're indispensable and irreplaceable instead of using AI to replace people. And that's the threshold we're at right now, Gilda, is that people are making these decisions, and sometimes they're making those decisions for us because we work at a certain place. So instead of layoffs and risk because we have AI coming in, I truly believe that I'm pushing this human first AI agenda. And I'd love to see everybody on board, because as I described it, and these tools that we have, our tools help not only the neurodiverse, but also the neurotypical to have that knowledge at hand and be able to use it when they need it.
Well, thank you, Derek, so much for your time and for sharing your story with us today.
Well, it's I'm glad you had me, Gilda. I'm glad you invited me in.
You're
Thank
welcome
you.
back anytime. If you like what you hear, please subscribe to the podcast. You can find it on Apple iTunes, Amazon Music, Spotify, and other popular platforms. We'd appreciate you taking the time to leave us a review. You can also listen to the podcast on YouTube at ARP Social, where you'll find bonus content. And be sure to follow us on Facebook or Instagram to get up-to-date notifications about the latest news and episodes. If you would like more information on anything else we've covered on the Autism Resource Podcast, visit us online at autismresourceproject.org/podcast. Be sure to check out our growing website often, since we are continually adding useful information and resources. I want to thank our listeners for spending part of their day with us. This is the Autism Resource Podcast, and I'm Gilda Evans, reminding you to take care of yourself and that special person in your life.